evening. It's Thursday, the 23rd of July at 6 o'clock, and I've got regular Sarah S.J. Banham with me today. And the topic is where in the world, because we've both written about various locations, either places we've would like to have gone, or have been, or know well, which is always useful if you're writing a novel. So the topics we've got are locations you've used or want to use in your writing or read, edited, because we both edit, published, etc. Have you been to the locations you've written about? If not, how did you research? So we'll touch on research. If you did, had anything changed subsequently? Because one did for me. Have you used a location as a tax-deductible trip? I had that in mind because there's a lady who's going to be joining us, when we repeat this, who's just Susanna Hockham, who has just released a book called A Moment in the Maldives, and she's not been there. She joined me on Tuesday, and she's not been there. But the advent of the internet and Google Maps and Google Earth and so on, and the live stream cameras, when I lived in Northampton, I heard that there was a Northampton in America, I think it's Mississippi, and they have a live stream on their high street, which is very typically American, sort of small town American. So you could just sit there for hours on end and watch what they're doing, which you think is a little unnerving if you live there. But there we go. But then you can see where the locations are, so that because I'm sure I know there've been authors who've put a one-way street the wrong way and so on and so forth. So another question is whether it's easier to use a fictional place, because then you can do whatever you like, or whether you use a real place because people will have been there or would like to know, if we know it, would like to find somewhere new. So good evening, Sarah. Now you've written novels and short stories.
Yes.
Do you find, I know you've used real locations, do you make locations up as well? Do you have a preference for which you use?
Well, it really depends on the story. If it's one of my, I wasn't going to mention this, but one of my stories is a series, and it will be one of the stories within it is off-world, so we'll have to create this other world. So that's I've got plenty of books or research books on creating other worlds, but you literally are left to start from scratch. So that's kind of fun and kind of intimidating all at the same time. But more often than not, I choose a real place that I can either fictionalize, or like one of my novels is actually called Living and Loving in Texas. Okay. Now, I haven't been to Texas. I know somebody that lives in Texas, two people in fact, and yes, I used research. I used maps, Google, all the rest of it, but actual real maps as well, like old-fashioned maps, paper maps. But the place that I created was outside of Lubbock in Texas, so it was a small town outside of a real place. So I created a place called Maynard, which is near Lubbock, in my story. So from that point of view, I used a bit of both, but it's the only American place I've written about that I hadn't been to. So that was an interesting way of doing something. It was a fictional town next to a real place I hadn't been to, but it worked. It worked okay. It worked nicely. Yeah.
But it's handy then that you've got people who can read it and go, well, yes, you've got that spot on, but you need to tweak this. Yeah. Which is always handy, because the last thing you want is for a reader to go, yes, but that's wrong, and either contact you, which is the ideal scenario, and what you don't want is then to have an Amazon review saying, well, I really like the book, but they were going the wrong way up a one-way street or something like that. But I did the same for Hitman Sam, and After Jessica. Actually, they were based in fictional villages, but between Toaster and Northampton. So they went, so it included real places, but I could, as long as I was consistent. And if I ever need an office, I always use I used to work for a chocolate company up in Corby. I was there 4.5 years. So if I ever need an office, that's always the layout because then I
Yeah.
know where the director's suites are, where the kitchen is, who sits where in an open plan office.
Yeah.
And so for those two, serial data and serial data, their offices are based on that plan.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that because in one of my novels, a couple of them actually, in Dream State, which is based in Boston, Massachusetts,
Mm.
um, there are two apartments that I focus one's his and one's hers.
Mm.
Um, and I wrote them down, or I drew them on a page so that I could see how many feet footprints it took to get to part of it, and she puts flowers down in one part but then goes to the
Oh,
TV but then goes to her bedroom. I had to make sure it was all in the right location.
sure.
So I'd written that out. I think I'd actually posted a photo of that on social media years ago.
Okay.
And same for his apartment. I needed it to be bigger, but where it was based, he needed to be able to see the airport. So
Right.
I needed to get the location correct, but I needed to get a direction of looking
Mm.
out of his window in the distance. He can see a plane leaving or
Yeah.
coming in. So I needed to work out that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And you've got to get all of because someone's going to read it and say, you can't see the airport from there,
Oh,
are they? They're
exactly.
going to say that. It's
Yes.
a tiny little detail that makes no difference. It's just a moment in his evening. He just
Yeah.
happened to look out the window at that moment at
Mhm.
night and saw the lights of the aircraft.
Sure.
Someone's going to see that and go, no, you can't see that. And the
No.
whole book is devalued, isn't it?
Do you just write contemporary? Do you ever go back, write anything historical? Because that's another thing, things change. If you're writing a
Yeah,
book in the 1960s, you'd have to do a lot more research to know that something was there in the 1960s
yeah.
that may not be there now.
I might have written things playing around, but I haven't published anything. Must admit, I like reading the odd historical thing here and there, but I do prefer to write modern day stuff.
Yeah, me too.
I think I can probably relate to it a bit more. Although I have written something that was in the early 2000s, which doesn't sound very historical, but because tech changes so quickly, yeah,
Yeah.
it's you might have an iPad that was mentioned because they'd not long been out. In fact, in what was that called? Oh, actually, that's a story that I might be republishing, and it was 21 years ago that I published that, which is
Wow.
terrifying when you think of it that way.
Right.
But that was called Dicing with Danger, and she had an iPad or an iPod. I can't remember which one I'd
Yes.
written.
Yeah.
And at the time, they hadn't long been out,
Right.
and my husband's very techie, so I asked him all about it. And
Yeah.
he said at the time, yes, she would have a mobile phone, but she would have two, one for work and one for personal. And at the time, I remember saying to him, why would she have two? That's ridiculous. It's such a
Right.
waste. But it's not out of the question nowadays
No.
for
No, my
people
husband
in work
does.
to have,
Yeah, he
yeah,
has two. He has
it's
a
quite a
personal
normal
one.
thing.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting you say iPod because I have
Yeah,
three. I think every time there is a new model, I buy a new one, and I love them so much. So I do take I put stuff on this podcasts and things.
yeah,
Apparently they haven't made them for a few years, but I've picked up on something when you're editing. I mean, you're edited as well. You always have to check things like that. And if a story is set in a particular era, then you can put the model. But quite often they'll go on an iPhone if it's not specifically particular year or particular decade, and they'll go, oh, he's got an iPhone 16, and I said, well, then you're dating it. Just say he's got an
yeah,
iPhone, because the
yeah,
chances of them,
yeah.
you stopping doing those is long distance.
And actually, it is literally just a detail. It is not even an important detail either. And in this particular story, she was listening to it. I just needed for her to listen to music so she couldn't hear anything outside of her surroundings. and she
Mm,
was about to be kidnapped. So I needed something to be
right.
stopping her hearing.
Yeah.
Um, but if you'd have gone way back, you'd have said a Walkman. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But
Yes.
that also dates it, doesn't it?
Well, I remember going on holiday I'm not normally good at remembering dates, but this was 2001. And my dad was in hospital, and I wasn't going to go on holiday because he was seriously ill. And they said, well, you can't do anything, so go on holiday. And so I just spent the whole time. I went with some girlfriends, and they were more sort of drinkers and go in the bar and smoke, whereas I spent quite a bit of time just reading. And I had a tape Walkman. That was 2001. And I remember going through audio. So I had audio books on. I might have been CD. Yeah, it might have been CD. Audiobooks on CD, but it certainly wasn't digital back then.
No,
But yeah, these are the
I
things
had
to
a,
think about.
a CD, yeah, to listen to a hypnosis tape on a, a CD on an aircraft, and that was a fairly normal thing to do. So yeah,
Yeah.
it has moved on incredibly quickly. That's
Mm,
tech, but location wise and setting and things like that, if things are going to change drastically, that's
mm,
something probably to keep on top of. But if it's stuck for that story then,
mm,
and yes, it will date. I mean, if you're going to talk about maybe a shopping mall, and then a year later, maybe something in Vegas, and a year later that's demolished and something else is in its place. That's quite a normal thing for Vegas to have
right,
all these things, all these buildings there one minute and next minute
right,
they're not.
right.
So you could probably get away with it there. But if it's if you're talking about the Twin Towers, that's going to date it, isn't it?
Yes, no, exactly. But then if somebody's, it's like I've got an iPod. If you could always, if you need it to be there, you make a thing of it. Oh, I didn't even know they
Yeah,
still made those. Well, they don't. I've had it, a decade or something.
yeah.
The world you're creating, would you draw yourself a map? This one that you're
Yeah.
having to
The
create for
one that
time.
I finished in March, which
Mm,
I please I can get to it at some point to edit it.
mm,
My schedule's just nuts. The one I wrote in March is a little different because he is American. They are living in LA, but she is from Essex in UK,
okay.
and I live in Essex.
Mm,
She's from there. She doesn't live there, but her family were from there. So yes, I visited years and years ago LA a few times actually.
mm,
So I kind of knew where I was putting things. Um, where she's from is not far from where I was born. So again, I can use what I remember of that
yeah.
time. She hasn't been there in years. I haven't
Right.
been there in years.
Yeah.
So things are going to change. If you look on Google, yes, things have changed, but the map, the road, streets, and everything, they're all as they were. Um, Again, I've forgotten your question. I've gone off on a tangent. What
Oh,
was your
about
question?
maps, because readers love maps. It's like the Lord of
Oh
the
yeah,
Rings and the Hobbit.
yeah,
Turn the front cover and then introduction, and then you have the map. Um, I just wondered whether you have or would use maps. I mean, we do them for our own use to make sure that, as you say, that they're going in the right direction, or
yeah,
that you can see the airport from
yeah.
his
I
place.
probably wouldn't include a map in the story. I would
No.
definitely include my hand drawn something or other
Okay.
to to refer to while I'm writing, because probably you're same as yourself. Once I'm involved in writing, I'm so hyper focused, I'm living it with them. I need that hand drawn, tactile pen and pad map to
Yeah.
see what's happening so I can just refer to it rather than coming out of the world I'm in and
Mm,
looking online or looking whatever to see and then get
sure.
distracted. So yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I tend to rely on too many. It doesn't on my desk at the moment.
Mm.
Yeah,
But it sounds like they're sort of places in reality anyway.
yeah,
So
most of them.
it's fairly easy for people um, to follow where the characters are going. And if you're
Yeah,
creating
I
a
would.
whole new
I would
world, so if
agree.
you're writing a fantasy book and you're creating a
Yeah,
completely new world, then that's different.
yeah. That particular one, that I've kind of written. I need to develop it. It is off world, and oh, I won't give too much away, but it's off-world.
Mm.
They are living on a different planet, but
Okay.
they are leaving that world and coming to the Earth.
Right.
So they are outsiders, obviously, but they're not aliens. But I won't give too
Mm.
much away because
Okay.
that's something for the future.
Right.
However,
That's interesting.
yes, it really is. It I can't tell you without
No,
giving a
that's
spoiler.
okay.
Tiny spoiler. It's okay. I'm
That's
excited
okay.
now because I'm thinking about it.
Oh,
Tiny spoiler is that they are originally from Earth anyway. So their
okay.
DNA, they're all from Earth, but
Right.
kind of nobody works this out until much later. So I know that where they're going to be all from,
Mm.
and they're coming. Earthlings don't realise that they are until they do some DNA tests on them. But
Right.
you're having to create a world that you really don't know yourself. And I know sci-fi writers do this as a matter of it's normal for them to do this.
Mm.
For me, it isn't. So I have to really think about it. But fortunately, over the years, I've gathered several research books
Mm.
on starting up new worlds and things, and it probably doesn't need to be as intimidating as it seems at first, because we know the table is here, the window is there is a door,
Sure.
but do they
Yeah.
have windows, doors, and tables on the other? Of course, in
Yeah.
my one they do, thankfully.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's how, and also things like tech, is that going to be different? But you kind of
Mm.
have to sometimes work on sci-fi movies and TV shows and see what they've done and what's convincing to the audience. And they've only done the same as us, haven't they?
Yeah. No,
We can't
exactly.
really work on anything else because that's all we know.
Yeah. The thing is, it's all got to be relatable and believable. I think you
Yeah,
don't have to go too far out of the sphere that we can understand.
yeah.
Are there any places that you'd like to go to? Because mine have all been fairly, I mean, those two, that one there are Northampton. In fact, they all are pretty much. Other than that one, which is Hemel Hempstead and Tring, which is fairly near where I am now. Um, but it would be lovely if I could set just trying to think of the most exotic place I'd like to go to. Italy. I'm going to go to Italy next year, so maybe I might have that as part research trip. Have there any
Yeah,
locations you think actually I'd love to write a book in such and such?
yeah. These are that one's Boston in Massachusetts. That one is, I hate doing it like this because it's so difficult to do.
Okay.
It's backwards. That's Texas. One I'd written earlier this year is both Boston in Massachusetts. No, it's not. I'm telling fibs. It's LA and
Mm.
Essex. I have been to all of those places. LA, Boston. I've been to 19 different states, and I
Wow.
tend to choose America because there's certain accents I adore. Certain accents I can't stand, like just about anywhere else, but there's certain accents, and I feel like that lends itself to how a character is going to behave, how
Right.
a character is going to be, and from my point of view, that it works. If I'm going to be
Yes.
spending time with a character, I need to know that they're going to be speaking in a way that I
Mm.
can absorb and it's music to my ears.
Mm.
To answer your question, I'd really like to go to. I'm going to kick myself for saying this because it's the furthest place you can go. I'd really like to go to Australia and
Right.
New Zealand, but the
Okay.
thought of flying
Oh, New
there
Zealand
all
for
that way
sure.
terrifies me.
Yes. No,
And
we
so many
we
of
did
my
it
family have gone over there. Yeah,
right. We did it last year. I'm not a fan of flying.
no.
I'm still of the how does it stay up in the air frame of mind. But
We
Tim
all
loves.
jump.
He's flown tiger moths. He's an engineer and he just knows that it stays up. And so he can talk the talk as much as he likes, but I'm still kind of okay. Just switch off. I'm in a box just for a while. I'll at some point I will come out of the box, and then we'll have a lovely holiday for a month, and then I'll be back in another box, and then come home. And so I do have to sort of forget that what's below, just around. But we stopped off in Singapore for 45 minutes. So we didn't even leave the and it was coming into one gate and coming out of one gate, so we didn't even have to go anywhere. And then on the way back, we flew 4 hours to Perth, and we had a 4 hour gap, so we ended up playing cards for eating and playing cards for 4 hours. And then we had I think it was 21 and a half hour flight from Perth to Heathrow, which is the longest flight you can get. And that was all right, actually. I mean, Tim slept for about 15 hours. I slept for about 10. So we were
I had a
sort of
yeah.
asleep. And by the
Had
time, usual thing, they feed you, and then they give you drink, and then you sleep for a bit. And then if you're awake, they'll feed you again. And so, yeah, it's right.
I did have I said to you earlier about the CD and listening to hypnosis tapes. So
Yeah,
that's what I would do on there. But um, again, it's a lot to do with the accent. I really like certain accents, so I'd like to listen to it more. I mean, I do a lot of research by listening to audiobooks with that accent or watching TV shows or movies
yeah,
and
yeah,
doing it that way because I obviously don't know any or many people who are Australian.
yeah,
I know quite a few Americans, so that's quite handy when you can listen to how certain accents deliver a word, and also
sure.
the difference in word. Like we would say wardrobe, they would say closet. So
Yes.
when I had an American beta read one of my novels, Dream State it was,
Mm,
I was pretty good on getting certain words right, and for some reason that one just fell out of my head. So I'd
right.
written, wardrobe, and they said no, we wouldn't use that. We'd say closet. I'm like, of course
Yeah.
you would. Why did that? Why
Yes.
did that even? Yeah, such
Because
a
again,
silly thing. But
you don't want an Amazon reviewer to say that you've got something wrong.
yeah, I
And do
mean,
you
everyone's happy to tell you what you do wrong, aren't they? But they don't focus
absolutely?
on what you've done brilliantly.
Yes. Do you when you're setting your books in we're going off topic a bit, but not really. Um, when you set your books in America, do you use American English, color with COLOR, or is it still
Well,
British English?
it's different books. I've done that differently. In Dream State, I I believe I did it all in American.
Okay.
I think in
Mm,
the one that I wrote in March, which is called A Passing Gear.
okay.
Every time she's speaking in her chapters, it's
Yeah.
in her spelling, and
Right.
every time he's speaking in his chapters, it's American.
Okay.
I think I've got that right.
Okay.
Um,
That
and
makes
I've
sense.
done it that way deliberately. And when she's speaking, like obviously different characters have got different characteristics, and so you wouldn't expect another person to have, like for instance, when he's really, really cross and really angry, it's a quite a heartbreaking story. When
Oh,
he's very upset, he swears. He's a sweary person.
yeah.
Um, but when he's around her, he doesn't swear.
Right.
So that's kind of a characteristic.
Mm,
But it's right for the character and it's right for the story and for the genre. So
mm,
obviously, that's another topic to discuss, whether swearing's right for character, genre,
sure.
audience, whatever. Um, but I always try to, she swears, I think, once or twice in the entire novel, and it's a big story.
Right.
And that's through Upset. But it's
Yeah.
one of those things that you've kind of got to get right
It
for
is. Well, it's all
for the
context.
the
Whenever
context
I'm
of
asked,
course,
should
yeah.
I put swearing in it? I say, well, if you're writing a gritty Glaswegian crime novel, then the chances are that yes, you do, because readers
Yeah,
will expect it.
yeah,
If, say, for instance, you have a burglar shinning up a drain pipe and the drain pipe comes off, if you're writing a clean crime, you'd go, he swore. If you're writing a gritty thing, you're not going to have him go, oh, bother. He's going to come out. And so it's reader expectation and context
yeah,
for that,
yeah.
for
I
sure.
agree.
Yeah.
I can be a bit sweary as a person. Is
Mm.
usually with humor. Some
Yes.
words I really enjoy. Other
Yeah.
words I won't go near, but some
Mm.
words I really enjoy, and I find them quite comical.
Yeah.
Um, and we joke about, we've gone through this nasty health things at home,
Yeah.
and one way to deal with it is to be a bit sweary about it.
Mm.
That was just a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And I'm smiling because I'm just thinking of the context. That some of them are really, really funny. Other people
Right.
will think that's appalling. But actually, no, it's just really funny.
Sure.
But I think that's a coping mechanism, and I think in that particular character, that's
Mm.
his way of coping. He can't.
Yeah.
He works out at the gym as well to get rid of some of the frustration and anger. But
Mm.
swearing is a coping thing for him,
Right.
and it works for him. Absolutely
Yeah.
works. I know we're getting off the point of location
No,
and
it's okay.
setting,
No,
but in
no,
a
no.
way, it's
I think
seamlessly.
anything we talk about is how we write is really
Yeah,
interesting. There are authors like Ian Rankin who uses Edinburgh as almost another character with all the flesh market close and all the dark streets. I've been told I don't put enough description in my books. How much do you have a balance between, are you conscious of having a balance between dialogue and description, especially description of places? Do you think if people haven't been to the locations you're using that you should put more detail in? Or again, do you think it's about context? If it's needed, put it in. If
I
it's
think it's
not
context.
valid.
Yeah, one of my scenes, he um he goes out early in the morning going to the get some food shopping, and she doesn't want to see people paparazzi around generally. She wants to avoid all of the attention, so she goes early.
Mm,
Um, but the store that I refer to and her in the car park or the parking lot
mm,
is one that we went to.
okay.
So I kind of know, I don't know if it's still there, but to be fair, does it even matter if it's still there? Because we're coming out of the story at that point. It's not
Yeah,
about the store, it's about what happens in the car park nearby.
sure.
And that is all real. But
Mm,
it's context because it has to be, in my mind, it's context because it has to be believable, as you said earlier,
mm,
and relatable, but it's not about that. It's just helping the reader get there, isn't it? In their minds, it's helping that if they
yes.
visualize it all. Of course, some people don't. They just read
Yeah.
it and read just the dialogue and get to the end of the book. They
Sure.
don't read
That
the rest of it.
that would be me. Because sometimes it's how much, because some readers will want loads of description. They'll
Yeah,
want to know the trajectory of a bullet from the gun,
yeah.
whereas other readers will just want to know that he's all right. Oh dear. Um, and so you can't please everybody. If you
No,
don't put, some people say there's too much, some people not enough.
yeah, yeah. Actually, in the book that I was mentioning earlier, the one that was published 21 years ago, which is a terrifying number to think about, there was a shooting. I don't often use that kind of violence in my books anymore, but
Mm,
in that particular one, he was in a swimming pool. He fell or was pushed in a swimming pool and went quite deep under, and a bullet was shot, and it got him. But I needed to know. My husband had some experience with firearms in the military, and he was able to tell me what bullet would work.
right.
And in fact, there's a scene early on in that book that a gun has to be underwater, and I hadn't any clue at that point that if some guns are underwater,
Mm,
they won't work
no,
for love
no,
nor money. Afterwards, that's your lot. But
yeah.
others will, and I had no clue. So that kind of research was really helpful. So
Mm,
that was a long while ago.
yeah.
But it's useful to know all that kind of stuff because as you say, somebody will point it out, won't they?
Yeah. And don't you think it makes a difference between, you just mentioned films, between watching a film and reading a book? I think people take books more seriously. If you're watching a film,
Yeah,
especially if you've got a gunfight between two people, anybody who knows anything about guns will go, well, that gun only takes 7 bullets, but he's already fired it 8 times. But in a film, it doesn't seem to matter. Whereas if you put that in a book, you'll get somebody on Amazon who get on review, Goodreads, whatever, who will say, "Oh yeah, but that particular brand of gun only takes 7 bullets and he hasn't reloaded." But in a film,
yeah.
you can get away with it.
It's
I
funny you
suppose
should say that.
by the end, and you come out of the cinema, the theatre,
Yeah.
that you won't have remembered anyway.
My husband always finds these things out, I tend to get engrossed in it. So if it is, yeah, I'm that person. Please don't hate me. I'm that person that's likely to have found the book from the film. I would have found the film first. I'm a very visual person. I need that
Mm.
stimulus.
Mm.
And then I'll go, there's a find it. I'm that person that has gone that way around. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone, don't hate me. So that's
No,
just me.
I used to be the other way around. I'd read a book and then go and see the film. The
No,
last one I
people
did
are,
that. The last one I did that was The Lovely Bones, Alice
oh, right,
Sebold,
okay.
and I thought,
Yeah.
how are they going to make a film? And they did a lot of
Yeah.
CGI. But I thought, how are they going to make a film out of that book? And it was almost exactly because
Well,
you're probably doing it the right way round because most people say that the books are better than the film.
yeah, I
So
would
if you
imagine they would.
see the film, in theory, the book's going to be better.
Yeah.
Um,
I would imagine most of that is because the actors who are chosen for the roles might not be who you imagined in the book.
yeah,
Lee Charles Reacher is a prime example of that.
exactly.
Um, I think the point you made earlier about remember I go through so many tangents. I really try hard and I can't remember it again.
That's okay.
Um,
It really
whether
doesn't
or not
matter because it's all
whether or
interesting.
thank you whether or not the film or the book rather was better. I think when
Mm,
you're writing, you have to do a lot about what the character is thinking. You can't relay that in a
mm,
script. You
mm,
know, an actor can only do so much to
yeah.
let you know what they're thinking, unless there's a voiceover saying, "I was sitting there and I was thinking blah blah blah," which is
Yeah.
telling you, it's not
Yes.
showing you.
No.
So those kinds of things, I think. Well, from my point of view, back to the gun thing again.
Mm,
If there is a gunfight, I'm focusing on the choreography
mm,
because you have this you have, I don't know if you've even noticed, you have this choreography where everyone's fighting and the person who is the good guy is doing the right kick, the right punch at the right time, and the other person's getting up and then being whacked again and then falling down. Well, I'm interested in the people in the choreography who are falling down at the right time. Are they down there looking, obviously waiting for their moment to get back up to be hit again or to
mm,
deliver the punch? I'm watching that. My
mm,
husband's the one going, they've just fired, 12 rounds and, they shouldn't have any left. So
yeah.
I'm focusing more on the choreography and that kind
Yeah.
of thing, the punching, whether it's too obvious that they're down for that amount of
Right.
time or not.
Yeah. How many times have you seen a goodie in the middle surrounded by half a dozen or a dozen, and they all seem to take turns
Yeah,
before they don't all pile in at once. Um,
no, I find that quite fascinating from a choreography point of
yes,
view. It's a skill. You
yeah,
see it in John Wick or Keanu Reeves, and
yes,
it works really well. But the amount of times they must have had to do that to make it look real,
mm,
because if you're careful, if you're clever, sometimes you can watch, not necessarily in John Wick, but in other times you
mm,
can watch and you can see the person down and they're, oh, all this. And
mm,
then 2 seconds later, they're up, they're punching. Well, I don't know about
yeah,
you, but if I've got a headache, I'm like, I can't get
yeah.
up for a minute.
Time out. No, exactly. This is why I don't read books twice necessarily. Well, because most of my novel reading, in fact, all my novel reading is work. And so I read short stories and short story collections for pleasure. And so I've, I don't read other books more than once if I do read other books. And the thing I think about seeing a film a second time, if it's a good enough film to watch it twice, is that you concentrate less on the plot. So when I'm going through a book the first time, it's the overall arc I'm concentrating on, and then the second time, third time, whatever, it's then the minutiae. And I spot things going through, but I think once you've seen a film once and you get the idea, the start, middle, and end, and the plot, then you see. I like looking at the minor characters because everybody else is concentrating on, as you say, the action. Um, Whereas if you see what the other characters, even things like EastEnders,
All
you
right, yeah,
see them doing things that they've just been told to wait until this scene's over,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then I'd love to learn to lip read to know what they're actually saying to each other, because it's probably not scripted. It's probably you are a couple in the corner, talk
yeah,
about whatever you want to talk about. So I'd love to, yeah, I'd
yeah.
love to lip
I
read.
I'm quite an obsessive person, and if I do like a film or a particular TV show,
Mm,
there's nothing on earth that will stop me watching it a million times.
yeah,
And I hold my hand up to that. I'm quite proud of that
yeah,
because I'm that kind of a weirdo.
mm,
But there are certain TV shows which I've gone back to, and they're kind of in a way, in a psychological way, they're almost my safe space. So if something big is happening and I have a hard
mm,
time coping with it, I
mm,
will go back to that and watch that. That's my safe space.
yeah,
Anyway, there's a particular show where there's about 9 characters, and I've watched this show hundreds and hundreds of times, and I intend to watch it hundreds and hundreds of times
right,
while I'm still breathing. And I've watched it from each character's point of view. Like
okay,
I know pretty much the script from start to finish. I will know
yeah,
it. You give me a line, I will say the next line.
right,
But watching each character, you can see tiny nuances of information that you wouldn't have seen before. And I've seen this a lot of times.
right. Are
And
you going to
and
tell
it
us?
really is helpful with creating your own characters.
Yeah, and which series are you referring to? Maybe no.
It's called Firefly. It was
Oh,
in
okay,
the early 2000s. Yeah, I'm
right.
one of those people that have seen it from day one. And
Wow.
yeah,
I've
come
seen.
at
I
me,
know
do
of
it, bring
it.
it on.
I know of
It's
it. I've never seen. But yeah,
yeah.
when you say about that, there is so much to watch, and yet I love The Mentalist. I've seen The
Oh
Mentalist,
yeah,
all
yeah.
however many, and Justified, and
Oh
there are ones they are, as you say, their
yeah.
comfort zone.
We binge watch a lot of series, and we finished The Mentalist a little while ago. We watched
Right.
the one you just said,
What did
the
I
one you
just?
said after that, and
Um,
we found another one called
woman.
Banshee, which was really good, and we've just finished, or we're
Oh,
starting actually,
Justified.
just going. That's it, yeah.
Justified.
Um,
Yeah.
we're just working our way through Bones, which is 12
Oh,
seasons, and
yes.
we're on season 4. Yeah,
I don't think I've seen. I think I've seen the first series or two. But no, I should. I like those.
yeah.
Yes, there are lots of other ones I love. Person of Interest.
Yes. Oh,
Really,
that was so
really
good and so relevant, wasn't it? For
love that.
now
Yeah.
and how old it is. Yeah, that was
Yes.
amazing. Yeah, that was
No,
one of our,
exactly.
yeah,
Um, I was going to ask you. Yes, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit because we're
okay.
both editors, and I
Yeah.
don't know if I can even answer my own question. Are there books that you've read or books that you've edited where a location really stays with you for any reason?
Hmm.
See, I've asked the question. I can't think of any.
I think there was one I did a few years ago. It didn't get to be published as far as I'm aware.
Right.
And it was based in small town America.
Hmm.
Think it might have been outside New York. I can't recall. But
Right.
that isn't the part that stayed with me. It was the small town part that stayed with me
Hmm.
because it was somebody's actual life that they'd fictionalized, but
Right.
it was so real that I felt I could just step into it.
Wow.
So it was like a cookie cutter kind of place.
Hmm.
Um, and it felt like I wanted to keep going back there, but
Right.
they'd fictionalized, loads of it.
Yeah.
Um, but it was very real, and you could feel the real of it.
Hmm.
That was nice. Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, lovely. Well, thank you, Sarah. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure because we can talk for the whole evening.
Probably
Um,
could.
so thank you. I'm sure you're booked in I
Yeah.
25th of August, if not before, on characters. So that'd be good.
Yeah. Yes, I'm looking
Um,
forward to that one. Yeah.
yeah, I think you maybe before then. I'm not sure.
I mean, chances
Anyway.
are I'm probably going to say everything I've said tonight as well. lot of
Well,
it will be overlapping.
you can never character settings plot. You can never over talk. There's always so much to cover in
Yeah,
those character settings. Why my favorite number is three. Character settings plot, start, middle, end, lots of threes.
mine are
I
three
have,
and 13.
sorry.
My favourite numbers are 3 and 13.
Oh, okay. 13 for any reason?
I was born on the 13th,
Ah,
and
of
I'm
course you
drawn to it.
were. Yes,
Yeah,
we're both Leos.
we are.
Yes, I'm a little bit later. I'm the just before the cusp. Yes, I'm well, I'll see you at Swanwick on the
Yes,
Wednesday. How
yes.
exciting. So anybody watching this, if you live in the UK and you can get to Derbyshire between the 8th and 13th of August, then is it the 13th that it finishes?
Yeah. We leave on the 13th. Yeah,
Is that your? Yes, that's the Thursday. Yes, so
yeah,
Sarah's there on the 12th. I'm there the whole
yeah,
time. So
yeah.
it'll be lovely. So yes, we'll catch up then.
I believe my second course, in fact, is the very last course of the week.
Is it?
So everyone will either be very excited to leave
Right.
or they'll be ready.
Well, I think knowing, have you been before? You have. Yeah, my first time last year. It's been on my radar as most things, like the RNA and the and Crime Writers Association, been on my radar for 2 decades, and I hadn't. First year was my first. Last year was my first year, and it's like a family. It's
Yeah,
fantastic, and everybody exhausted as we are,
yeah.
stuffed as we are, because there's like 3 course meals 3 times a day, and we don't want to go, so it is exhausting. But yeah, we don't want to
I
go.
think
So
it was 2018 that I went for the first time.
okay,
So yeah, I it was on
oh,
my bucket list. I did it, and I
yes,
and I weirdly said I've done it now. I don't want to go back, but I
okay,
will if I tutor. And then I pitched. They said yes, and now
yeah,
I'm like, how did this
great.
even happen? Yeah,
I was the same. Well, I unless I was traditionally published, I wouldn't be on a panel. But I did Harrogate for about 6 years, almost in a row, and I just kind of, and also with moving further south, it was that much further to travel,
yeah.
and so I kind of think I did it 6 years in a row ish. So that's probably enough. And I've never been, sadly, never been to Crime Fest in Bristol. And the year I was going to do it this year was stopped. So we go.
It does.
Hopefully it will come back. That'd be good.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think
thank you,
you did
Sarah.
a self-publishing thing in Leicester as well, didn't you? One year.
Yes,
I met you
yes,
there.
Troubadour.
Yeah,
I did that a couple of times, as I think 3 times. I spoke at it 3 times. One was podcasting. The other one,
was the one
another
I
one was
saw. Yeah,
competitions. I think I did three. Another one, I think, was editing, and
I was
then a
still
couple of couple
presenting
of
radio at the
couple of.
time. That's why I chatted. I was on your podcast one. I talked about
Oh,
radio
okay,
for a moment. That's where I actually met you.
right.
Yeah, I followed you on Twitter
There
for
we
like
go.
millions of
Back in.
years before that.
I knew we'd known each other for quite a while.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a pleasure. Thank you, and I'll see you at Sonic. How exciting!
Yeah,
Bye. Thank you.
bye.